Welcome to Suddenly Different, where we explore stories and strategies for life when it doesn't go to plan. I'm Leigh-Anne Charland, inviting you to join me on this journey. What do you do when life takes everything you thought you could rely on, your marriage, your safety, your bank account, your sense of self, and it all collapses at once? My guest today, Belinda J, didn't just walk through a difficult season, she walked through a total dismantling. A relationship with a narcissist shattered her more deeply than 22 years of marriage. Her mind, her heart, her body, her finances, all of it fractured. She found herself with nothing left but the courage to return home to live with her mum, and unexpectedly to become her mum's carer while trying to rebuild her own life from the ground up. And yet, even in that unravelling, there was something quite unbreakable in her. Not fast, not easy, but steady. Belinda rose one small, conscious step at a time. And in doing so, she didn't just rediscover resilience, she redefined it, and she became an expert in the minor things that make a major difference to us all. Today, Belinda teaches resilience not as a personality trait, but as a practice, a verb, a way of living with integrity, boundaries, and legacy. Belinda, thank you for being here. Thank you for being in my life. And thank you for paying attention to what has happened in your life, so much so that you can help so many others to claim their own agency and to live more consciously.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for being my friend for such a long time now. It's been an absolute joy, that journey. And I do feel like it is a privilege to be able to stand on stages and to speak on podcasts about resilience and how I believe it's actually part of human evolution as opposed to just bouncing back. I mean, I don't know anybody who wants to keep bouncing back to where they were before. That seems totally mind-blowing to me. To me, it's a process of doing small things in order and getting to the next place. And if that's not evolution, I don't know what is.
Well, I don't remember in our earlier decades resilience really being much. I just know that we probably came from parents who were affected by the war period, and it was soldier on, right? It was soldier on. It was pull up your big girl pants and just get going, right? And we are both fortunate as also being in the period of time where women decided that it was time for them to leave the home and to take on careers and work in male-dominated industries.
Absolutely. You know, our parents are the epitome of resilience. And somewhere along the line, that has been watered down to everybody wins a prize, everybody does okay, everybody's good at everything. And it's just not the way of life. We all excel at different things. And to be resilient is part of knowing that you can't possibly be good at absolutely everything. And if you are, you're an extraordinarily rare person. And I take my hat off to you. But most people are good at one thing so much better than everything else. And sometimes because it seems like it's easy for us, we think it's easy for everybody else, but it's not always. That's where it becomes a gift. And that's where our resilience quite often has to come in, because we need to understand that some things come more easily to us or to somebody else than to the others around them. Male-dominated industries are a classic example of that. I worked in construction, I worked in painting, I was a secretary in a legal office. All of these things were very male-dominated at the time when I was going through those ranks. But, I absolutely loved working on site. It was so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah. And those early years really shaped your relationship with color and design, and that, I don't know, that fortitude is the word that's popping into my mind at the minute. It's like, it's like you've just got a really strong spine and you walk tall and proud and deeply connected to the earth. And yeah, and definitely paths that many women back in those times would never have thought of doing.
I sound ancient.
No, 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 no. But I mean, us women who are in maybe our second act or heading towards actually having more choice in our lives.
Yeah, heading more towards Act 3, really, because there's our early years, then there's our parent years, and then there's our post-parent years, heading in towards, you know what, we've got some choices to make. I've lived my life so far for a lot of other people, and now it's my turn to dig in and go, you know what, what's in this life? What is left of my life? What can I do now for me? And you mentioned before about me having a strong spine and fortitude. I have to say, Leigh-Anne, that I started out as that, and then I got broken in that middle bit, and now I feel like I'm getting that back again.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself is why I've written the books that I have. You know, the first one was The Becoming of Wisdom, and I thought, you know, how the hell did we get wise about all of this stuff? And you get wise by, you know, recognizing that things aren't working so well. And, you know, what do you then do to remedy those? And my most recent book, I guess if the first book is a diagnosis tool, the second book is the how to. So, you know, I'm kind of excited about that because I think most of us at some time or another have been to hell and back, but I've just put in words how I got through it and made some models around it so that people can end up with a resilience toolkit at the end of the day that will help them get through to those better days.
Yeah, yeah. Because really, we don't have to do everything. We don't have to have every individual thought ourselves from the origin of thought, right? We can leverage other people's thoughts, right? And I think it is absolutely wonderful to be leveraging human thought as against AI thought, right? Because at least we know that there can actually be truth in the human thought. I got tripped up the other day with the old AI and it failed maths. It told me there were 4 words in something that there were 3 words in. And and I just accepted its logic. So it's really important that we start paying attention to human opinions, human models, and, you know, like, don't waste time like I did the other day.
But we can waste hours talking to our little AI bots, getting all sorts of information, true, false, or otherwise. You know, it's like the fact checker needs to fact check.
Yes.
So I think if we rely too heavily on AI for our thinking, we can fall into a bit of a pit of laziness, actually, I think, particularly because we are all creative, thoughtful beings. If we can even get our muddled thoughts onto a page and go, okay, well, I can make some sort of coherence from this, then feed that through an AI tool. But you have to be really specific with what you want to teach it, or what you want to tell it to do, or what you want the outcome to be from that, whatever it is that you've fed in. And then check it, and check it again.
That's right.
Because AI can't actually think. We think. AI
Yes.
just regurgitates stuff that it's scraped from wherever else it's scraped on the internet. And that may make no sense whatsoever to what our intention is from that piece of writing that we've just done.
Yes, yes. And it's all data, right? And so for me, I love data. I as part of my recovery during my chronic illness, I have relied so much on being present in the moment so that I can notice what's going on in me and I can identify the patterns because nobody else is going to know them. And with using your models, helping people find their present state and getting the feedback of their data, they can have their choices.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? Life is about making a series of choices. We wake up in the morning and we get to choose, am I going to be happy? Am I going to be sad? Am I going to be, you know, glad to go to work? Am I going to be grumpy? Am I going to be, you know, you actually get to choose in every moment of every day. And sometimes we make really bad choices. And other days we can make epic choices. And it's on those days that we make the epic choices that we need to prepare for the days when we wake up and we're feeling less than brilliant. So this is where we build resilience so that when we're here, we have a model, we have a tool, we have something that we can pull out of our kit bag and go, okay, today I need whatever that is. I can bring myself back to, being a bit more fully present if I do XYZ today, because I learned about it here. I'm applying it here. That's what resilience really is. And that's how I choose to teach resilience.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So when you left the relationship with the narcissist,
Mm.
was there a lot of self-work that was when you wrote the first book?
It was a little while after that. It was a little while after that. I had to recover.
Yes. Yes.
I had nothing left. Mind, body, heart, spirit, financially, I was totally broken.
Yeah.
I had nothing left to give. I couldn't give anything to myself. So I got a job that was back in retail. I had worked in retail before, and I don't have to think to do retail. All you have to do is sell something to somebody, help them feel good, and they walk out the door and you go, okay, job done. I've earned my pay for the day. And I guess I uncovered that it's in the routine of doing stuff that you know how to do, that you don't have to think too much about learning something new. So the routine kept me grounded and kept me in a safe space so that I could put a little bit of money in the bank, so I could get my physical fitness back a little bit, so that I could get my head in some sort of order. Because you see, by helping somebody else, I was helping me. You know what that's like.
Yeah.
We've all been there in that coaching sort of sense where, we get a buzz out of helping other people. And when they walk out the door and they're going, yay, it's like, I helped that person, do whatever or achieve whatever in their life. Therefore, I feel okay about that. So, in the giving we get, essentially. And, it took me quite a little while to pull myself back together. And there were some days that I was flat out getting off the couch. I mean, I got out of bed. I guess that the trickiest part for me, Leigh-Anne, was because I didn't want mum to know how unwell I actually was. I didn't get diagnosed with depression. I didn't go to a doctor. I didn't do any of those things that so many other really super smart people do and get the help that they need. I intentionally didn't do that because I didn't want mum to know how unwell I actually was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I felt like I was protecting her in making that happen.
Yeah. And how did that play out for you? Do you think that aided your recovery, or do you think that extended the length of time that you were in that rebuilding phase?
Very good question. I think it's actually a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I think because I was intentionally protecting mum, I had to do what I did in a time frame. I don't quite know how to word it. I did things in a time frame that I knew I could manage, but also in a time frame that I thought, and this is going to sound awful, and I don't mean it to sound awful at all, but in a time frame that she wouldn't judge.
But see,
Does that make
we get
sense?
yes, but
Yeah.
I mean, look, humans judge, right?
Mm.
And often we judge on behalf of the people who we think are judging, right? So there's this continual loop of judgment, and it's all made up. It's
Yes.
all imaginary. Like, we may as well be talking about fairies in the garden, right? Because honestly, most of the time, people are thinking about themselves. They
Yeah.
are not thinking about judging you. So, listeners, think about that for a minute. Think about how many times you worry about what people are thinking about you. And now
Mm.
have a good laugh and think about the fact that they're not thinking about you at all.
At all. Not at all. Not at all.
And then get on with, like, put that one aside, judgment, because it's none of our business what people think about us.
And most people have their own stuff going on anyway. Who are we to decide whatever? It's not up for it. We just have to take care of our own space, mental, emotional, physical, environmental, energy. And when we take care of ourselves, we can step out more confidently into the world.
Yes.
And
Yes.
even when we're having a really, really, really bad time, either in the day or in life generally, if we can take care of our own energy, And that's one of the really important things I cover in the book. Like, our energy is everything. And you know what? The best thing for me is if I wake up, or if something happens during the day and I think, damn, I just kick off my shoes and go and stand outside on the grass for 5 minutes. It is amazing how much better I feel and how grounded I feel and how all of that stuff just seems to flow through me and back down into the earth. It's just, they also call it earthing these days,
Yeah.
and it's actually quite a big thing, but it's been a practice forever and ever and ever. It so works well.
Yeah. And, that or stacking good memories, stacking joy-filled memories of that you've had in your life and getting rid of that negative because if think about, playing in the playground and sliding down a slide, think of those gorgeous things or just walking down the river, whatever
Yeah.
it is that you do, and all of a sudden you're smiling, and then you've changed that energy state.
You've changed the state. That's exactly right. Because whatever was going on hasn't necessarily gone away. You've just managed your energy better so that you're able to deal with that madness, whatever it
Yeah.
was, in a better way, in a more useful, kinder way to yourself, and probably kinder to the other people involved in whatever the situation may be.
Well, because you give the opportunity for everybody in the situation to change their energy.
Mm.
Now, they can be stubborn, you know, they can choose to stay in their spot, but again, you can only manage you.
That's right.
And this is where, looking at your models, the raw model and the verb model, it's very simple, useful ideas where you can just take a little part of it and through those models. Do you want to share a little bit about the models and how easily people can connect?
Sure, sure, sure. I think when I was writing this book, the resilience book, that's the framework there, resilience is a verb. When I was writing that, it came to me about halfway through that I don't want this one or the first one that I wrote. I don't want either of them to be a book that you just read through and then put on the shelf and leave it alone. They're almost like, and this is going to sound a bit woo woo, so if you're not into woo woo, skip this
Oh,
part.
no,
Get woo woo.
woo.
I think they're probably a bit more like an oracle.
Yeah.
Where if you are having a difficulty connecting to your intuition, for example, so one of the I's in resilience stands for intuition. So go to the chapter on intuition and go, okay, here's what I know for sure about intuition. I'll just read this first line. We all have it. We don't all tap into it. When we do, we are divinely guided. And when we don't, we can mess up monumentally. So intuition is one of those things, and one of the keys, I think, to knowing whether you're tapping into your intuition is when your head, your heart, and your gut are in alignment with a decision,
Mm.
then you know that your decision is in alignment with your values. And when we're making decisions based on our values, chances are our expectations are being managed well.
Yeah.
And then we can have solid boundaries around that about what we will and won't accept. And so that's one of the resilience abilities is intuition. And that is, so in the book, I talk about how we know that that's playing out.
Okay.
So that's what I mean when I say it's a bit of an oracle, is that, it's not just one thing.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of useful tools that you can use together to go, right, okay, my values around something are XYZ. My expectations in this situation might be, ABC. Expectations are sort of likened to a job description. So a job description is, generally speaking, a list of tasks and whatever else from time to time. I always love that on a job description. It means they can ask you to do absolutely anything.
That's right.
But a job description is a point of negotiation. So that's where their expectations are given to you. Your expectations go back to them and you go, yes, I'm willing to do this, but I'm not willing to do that, or that's above and beyond, or, whatever the case might be. So expectations, I think, are a bit like a job description. And then when our boundaries are being crossed one way or another, then we get to have a discussion about that.
And that's where, when those boundaries, when you cross somebody's boundaries, and especially when you're not aware of your boundaries, right? And so that's when you have that big emotional moment,
Yes.
right?
Because you can be considered a bit of a door, like you can be a pushover.
Yeah.
If somebody comes at you, like if your boundaries are solidly in place and
Mhm.
somebody tries to make a boundaries violation, as in they want to stomp into your space, whatever that space is, you have a way of going, hang on a minute, no, no. And no is a full sentence. But if your boundaries are a bit soft, you can be considered a pushover or a pleaser or a yes person or a, whatever it is. And whenever things get tough, people go, oh, go and see them, go and see Leigh-Anne, go and see Belinda. They'll do it. Don't worry about it. They'll do it. They do it all the time. And when all of a sudden you put a line in the sand and go, you know what? Yeah, no, I'm not, I can't, I have no more capacity right now to do anything else. And people suddenly go, huh? What's going like it's foreign to them that you actually have put a boundary in place.
Yes.
And they are so important because they contain your energy. Your boundaries contain your energy.
Yes. Yes. And give you the choice of how to spend it.
Yes.
And so as a person so with my condition, cells in my body don't hold. It's like my battery is constantly flat. Recharging it doesn't work and it doesn't hold.
Mm.
So I have to have strong boundaries with myself so that I don't run out of energy.
Mm.
So I it's a fact that boundaries help you manage your energy. Absolutely learnt. So I know that you've got so many different models. You're using words to help us remember the spelling of the word, to remember more information. So as you said, with the resilience, the I is intuition, and all of these things, like there's too many things for us to share in this podcast. So it is really important for people who are trying to get control of their boundaries, understand what their values are, what's between them and healthy values and expectations. Because, like, sometimes don't we think that if we take someone else's values, if we take the workplace's values, that we might be able to, be a better person or something, and then realize that actually they're not our values?
Workplace values are somewhat interesting. I have walked into so many businesses and their values are stuck on the kitchen wall or on the, wall of somewhere, the typing pool or whatever. But they're just like token.
Yes.
They're not actually lived values.
Yes. Yeah.
And the other thing to consider there with taking work values home with you is that really the energy you want in your home as well as the energy you want at work. Because, I guess it depends, Sometimes I think if you're going to go and work at a place, you need to understand what their values are. So you'd have a look at their website or you'd have a look at, whatever their documentation is and go, what are the values I'm seeing here? And when you rock up to an interview or a receptionist or whatever, if they are not the epitome of those values on the page that you've just read, is this really a company that is in integrity with its own doctrines?
Well, that's right, because culture is what happens when the boss is away, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know that, Belinda, you were having your book launch at the end of December 2025.
I
How
was.
did that go?
No, I am super stoked to tell you that this book, this is my first copy, so I've scribbled all over it. It launched at #1 on Amazon. Day
Good.
one, the ebook went straight to #1. I was absolutely tickled pink. I've got a few good reviews on there so far, 5-star reviews. I need some more, just saying.
Yeah.
Can we put the link in the comments after the show?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll put
Yeah.
it in the show notes and in all the
Awesome.
social media.
Yeah. So, look, I was totally stoked that that happened. I had some really cool people at the online book launch. And then as time goes by this year, I'm going to be doing some book signings around the country, coming to a town near you soon.
Very
I'll
good.
definitely be doing one in Adelaide and Melbourne and Hobart. It's super exciting. And look, I think the more people that get hold of this book, the more readily available the information is to people. the easier people are going to be able to manage with life and with the, those little ups and downs that happen throughout life. And I really feel that, just keep it on your bedside table, keep it in your sock drawer, keep it in your desk drawer, whatever it is, just keep it handy. It's a very easy read. There's lots of white space in it. I do
Yeah.
that quite deliberately. I did it with my first book and with this one. So when I was talking to my publisher the other day, she said, "Oh, so you have a series of books?" I'm going, "Maybe I do." So
Well,
the
that's
first
right.
one's based on wisdom. The second one is on resilience. So who knows what number 3 will be? Who
Who
knows?
knows?
But they are now a series. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I never considered myself a writer in that regard. Actually, you know what? I failed senior English, not because I can't read, not because I can't write, not because I can't spell, but because my English teacher didn't like the way I did reviews of things. We would have to go to, see a play or a movie or read a book and then review that thing. And because my primary archetype is the romantic and my secondary archetype is the alchemist, so you put those together and say, I'm not going to get deep into a plot. I'm going to
Yeah.
go, oh, the settings were beautiful and the costumes were wonderful. I just never wrote the way they liked me, or not the way they liked me, the way they wanted me to write.
That's
So
right.
technically, on a scale of 1 to 7, I got a 2 for senior English, and I'm a 2 times best-selling author. So, English teachers.
That's an important thing to talk about because, again, that's where there's a defined set of expectations that may be implied rather than stated, right? Because I know I got a really bad mark on a psychology paper because it was talking about um, teenage angst and sort of the psychology of becoming an adult, and I was writing it from a deeply traumatized child abuse background. So I was telling my story through my lens, not what was in the textbook of how life was meant to be. And this is where sometimes our expectations aren't met, like the expectations of society, that we behave in a certain way and that we answer questions in a certain way. And yet the reality of our experience is not that.
And that is one of the principal areas where I think education fails us.
Yeah.
Tremendously fails us. We all have different experiences. We all have had different childhoods. Even kids that have been raised in the same family have had different childhoods, depending on where they are in the, whether they're kid 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Mm.
And if we are not allowed to look at life through our own lens and consider all the research, but then bring it back to situational learning or situational currency, how are we then able to help other people, particularly as a psychologist, how are we then able to help other people through whatever it is that they're going through if we're only allowed to look at textbooks? Textbooks are that for a reason. You have to be able to interpret them as per what's going on in somebody's situation, and it's situational always. And I actually came across this term yesterday, and some of what I do is clutter clearing and energy work and environment, making sure that the environment where we work, rest and play is beautiful. And then I also do wardrobe genie stuff. So that's a different thing again. And I thought, oh God, there's got to be a thread between all of this stuff. So I plugged it into AI.
Yeah.
And this is where AI, I think, did get it kind of right for me, is that it's situational organization
Yeah.
that I look at. And it's situational considerations for clients. And it's like everything is a different situation. And I actually really love that term.
I think it's fabulous.
Yeah. So otherwise it looks like I've done a million different things and none of it is cohesive.
Yeah.
And when I look at it as all being situational, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Because there are threads,
Yes.
like I can, from our in-depth conversations and shared history, there's many threads that I can see when you tell your story of, working at Movie World and, being responsible for health and safety and keeping people safe and having the authority and again that fortitude to be able to do it. And then, then even to the point of working with your colors and designing and being able to have again that authority.
Yeah.
And it is situational. So that's a great
It's a great word, isn't it?
it is.
A
I
great
think it's really
reason for doing a lot of what I do.
yes.
Instead of saying she's had multiple careers and multiple thises and that's and whatever else, it's all been very situational.
Yeah. And
Even
there
recovering from the narcissist and the 22 years of marriage and, all of those things, everything has been situational.
yeah, and leading to great wisdom, enlightenment, and then the ability to share that. There's so many times I don't know about you, Belinda, but sometimes I feel I've gone through so many different things and had such a roller coaster ride. And what is the purpose of it all? Like
Mm.
how surely there must be I must be able to save one person from going through that. Like just that one.
Yeah. And it's funny that you say that because when I was writing the first book, I was still very, very, I was not very, very, I was just very broken. Not very,
Yeah.
very. I
Yeah.
was on my way to recovery. And that's when I came up with my first resilient raw model, which was, it ended up being, and I was trying to figure it out, it ended up being above and below the line.
Yep.
You know how we've got the below the line stuff, which is like, oh my God, nobody loves me and all of this
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And then above the line, it's like, hang on a minute. If I don't love me, how is anybody else going to love me? So, yes, I think that each situation gives us an opportunity to think differently, make better choices, and do what's right for us in that moment.
Hmm.
And you mentioned before about when I was working on Warner Brothers Movie World on the Gold Coast. I'd totally forgotten about that until just now. And that was really an extraordinary thing because I became the first workplace health and safety officer for multiplex constructions when the Workplace Health and Safety Act first came into being back in the 80s. So Friday afternoon, I was just one of the site clerks there. And then on Monday morning, I was the workplace health and safety officer. So all these blokes who had been working on building sites for God knows how long just came in exactly the same way they left on Friday. And I said, no, sorry, you can't go onto site today with your Dunlop volleys. You have to have steel caps on and you have to have a hard hat. You have to do this, you have to do that. It's like, oh, bugger off. And that was probably the kindest thing that they said to me. But it became apparent very quickly that I don't think they respected the new laws. They certainly didn't respect me trying to make sure that those laws were upheld because I was working for the company that said, if something happens on site, the Workplace Health and Safety Act is this weird thing. Like everybody's responsible, but nobody's responsible. But the
Oh,
person who's
right.
in charge is responsible. So you can have as many safety equipment items and education and whatever. But if the people don't use them, and the laws have changed so many times, it's just crazy to think that any one person can be responsible for workplace health and safety. Everybody has to be responsible for that.
Yes. Yes.
And it just became such a headache.
We've talked about how there can be a thread within our life, and we've talked about um, you know, building building that resilience, one piece at a time, one boundary, one expectation, one awareness at a time, so that it isn't overwhelming. You're not expected to be an expert all the time straight away.
Mm.
It is a gradual thing, which is why you say it's to have your book as a companion rather than as a thing to get done, read, and put away.
Mm.
You and I have had many conversations about important issues for 2025 and beyond. And one of those deep conversations was about women who are over 50 and the fears that they face late at night as their marriages are going into new times. They may be empty nesters. They are facing huge technical changes in the workplace. There's so many younger people coming along, and I think you were the one who told me the stats of homelessness in women
Mm.
over 50
Yep.
being, the biggest fear that is coming for civilization as we know it. But you're one of those people who have got through from rock bottom and getting up. So what could you well, actually, what is it that you'd like to share about this potentially very, very hard, true statistic that is about to occur?
Well, it is occurring. It's not about to. It already is. I went back through the 2021 census, and there'll be another census made this year in 2026. So it'll be interesting to see the difference in the statistics from then till now. But women over 50 are the fastest growing group of homeless people in Australia today. And when I do some research in other countries, it's a bit the same. Broken marriages, not enough in super, AI coming in and taking over, easy, somewhat menial, but really important jobs are being taken over by AI, which is putting women at risk of financial insecurity, having to stay in situations where there could be potential danger, certainly loneliness, which is at epidemic proportions already, and homelessness. So what does a homeless woman look like? A homeless woman can definitely be sleeping on the streets, but not always. She will sometimes be sleeping in her car with children and sending them off to school, having to use public amenities to get ready for those days. She may be living with adult children. She may have gone home to live with parents, and then strangely become their carer. So the vision that people see of a homeless woman over 50 is, I think most people know somebody who is living like that. They become a bit transient. They become a house sitter or a pet sitter. And whilst they have some means, they don't necessarily have means to have a home of their own, have a landing place of their own.
Yeah, to be to be able to afford rent if
Yeah.
if they are no longer in the property market. And I know people who are living in caravans, permanent on-site caravans, and definitely house sitting, pet
Yes.
sitting, holiday sitting.
Yeah. There's a lot of real estate agencies now who have changed the way they do rental agreements to cater for uh, multiple rentals in the one house. So they can rent out by the room as opposed to renting the whole house. Because whilst one woman may not be able to, or one person may not be able to rent the entire house at over $1,000 a week or whatever it is, to have 4 people in there at $250, might be a bit more doable. So they're renting out spaces as opposed to renting out a whole house.
Yeah.
So even real estate agencies have had to change the way they do business to cater for and to cope with, the people who need somewhere to live.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
But the statistics are terrible. I do write about them in detail in the front of my book here. Just let me find you some numbers and you will be shocked, I know, in the introduction. The Mercy Foundation report in 28th of March 2023. 122,494 people were counted as homeless on census night. The number of women experiencing homelessness increased by 10.1% compared to 1.65 for men. Women accounted for 81.7% of the overall increase in homelessness in 2021. The number of women aged 35 to 44 experiencing homelessness increased by 19.6%. The number of women aged 55 plus counted as homeless increased by 6.6%. It's shocking.
It is
Absolutely shocking.
absolutely shocking.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And those are real numbers. That's just terrifying.
And those are, I mean, oftentimes our our homeless people have got mental health conditions like
Mhm.
beyond depression. they have disorders, or they may have addictions of kinds. So the society has sort of put out the difficult ones.
No safety net for them.
Yes, so
There used to be safe places for them to be able to go to, and now there's
yeah.
not.
Well, and they've only got temporary hostels and things. They have to check out each day and go back, and
Yes.
it's just very sad. And for women, I can't even imagine the amount of violence and physical boundary breakage that is occurring, and for those women on the streets and in their cars, and
Mm.
it's just not good enough. It's not,
Quite
these
heartbreaking.
these these women have been our carers. They have been the backbone of families. They have been stalwarts of the community, unpaid, volunteers, canteen, like all sorts of different roles they've taken and filled that were needed and have now been automated some way or replaced by ultra processed delivery things. So it is time for us to look at those women and give them help and be more understanding of them and stand up. And it is for us to have our own self-awareness so that we have choices, and then to help those who are already choiceless.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
And some of them have gotten to a point where they don't even know that they're able to make choices. They
yes,
feel like they have zero control over their own lives.
yeah, yeah. And feeling hopeless and helpless. And when you take away the ability to contribute to, like, it's really hard. I know
Mm.
with suddenly no longer being able to work, no longer being able to think coherently. And that was one of the hardest things for me to be able to cope with, was not being able to give to community, not being able to um, provide guidance, leadership, all of those things that we take for granted.
So we go from that place in a workplace or within a family unit where we are the strong one. We are the solid one. We are the person that people come to for advice, for wisdom, for whatever it is, for comfort, for solace, for strength, to find that backbone that we mentioned earlier. And all of a sudden, when that world shakes and we are no longer any of those things, we break. We just break. And sometimes we can't even realize that we can do better, because when your foundations are absolutely shaken to a point where the house is crumbling, what can you do? You miss opportunities. Your attitude just sort of falls in line with all that doom and gloom stuff. And the results you get as a result of all of that is pretty icky.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that if people can get hold of the work that I'm doing, that they can start to realize that they can do better, that they can contribute, that they may have been through a lot of stuff, but that just increases their wisdom because they have more life experiences to tap into to say, I was here, I'm now here, and you know what? I'm getting myself together. I may not
Mm.
be fully there yet, but I'm working on it
Mm.
every day. I am now making a conscious choice to do better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes that takes a little bit of organization. We have to, if you're sleeping in your car, make sure your car's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes.
Hose your car
Yes.
down, at
Yeah.
least make
Clean.
sure that the
Yeah.
space that you're occupying is clean and tidy and not strewn with rubbish and all that sort of stuff. Because that's an implosion of itself. But if you can say, okay, no, today I'm going to clean out the car. If me and my child have to sleep in this car for one more night, it's going to be a beautiful space for us to stay. And just make that decision. That becomes a choice. You're smiling. It's lovely, isn't it? It starts to feel
I'm
good. This is that top side of the equation.
That's
What
right.
attributes do we need to develop? How strong do we need to be? Who do we know who's lived in a car or lived in a shitty situation
Yeah.
who has gotten out of it?
Yeah.
And the one that comes to mind always is Cinderella.
Yes.
She had all that crap going on and she married Prince Charming. Not that we necessarily want to marry Prince Charming,
No.
but she managed to get herself out of that doom and gloom situation.
Yeah. So So what is it? So what is within our power? What little thing is within our power to help us shift out of that gloom? And if it is having, all of the mess taken out of your car, or if I cleaned my desk,
It's a
that would
decision.
probably be good. It is.
It's a
It is.
decision to decide. It's a choice to choose.
It is a choice to choose.
We get the opportunity to choose what it is that we're willing to put up with. And when we're no longer willing to put up with the nonsense or the grubbiness or the rubbish or the, I'm here because somebody made me be here, and, that downtroddenness and all the rest of it, all of a sudden we're going to go, hang on a minute. I'm going to sit up a little bit taller. I'm going to brush this, stuff off my shoulders and go, you know what? Not today.
Not today.
Today, I am choosing to be strong. I am choosing to be neat and tidy and a little bit organized. I am choosing today that I am not going to let somebody cross my boundaries, and no is a full sentence. Today, I'm choosing that when I send my kids off to school, they're going to have clean and tidy uniforms. They're going to have all their homework done. They're going to go with a healthy lunch, whatever that looks like. It all starts with making a decision, which excludes everything else, making a choice to do better. When we do better, we be better. We have more and we give more. Even if we have nothing, we have our pride, we have our self-confidence, we have our something inside of us. And that is then a gift that we can give to other people.
Yes.
And you know where I learned some of that is I've traveled a little bit to some third world countries. I've been to Uganda, I've been to India, I've been to various places. And what I find most simply delightful about people who have very little is that they will give you everything.
Yes.
They will give you food if they'll starve in order to give you food. No, no. I'm happy to share, but I don't need all of everything. They will give you a smile. They'll give you shelter. They'll give you water. They'll give, whatever it is, they're happy to give you because it makes them feel complete. And that's that story of Ubuntu.
Yes.
I am because you are because I am. And that's all about connection. So when we can see our way forward to truly connecting mind, body, heart, spirit with the person who's sitting opposite us or beside us, that choice becomes a moment of healing.
It does.
That choice in that moment was a statement of resilience. It was a statement of, I have been to hell and back, but today I'm choosing differently.
It's time for us to finish for today. I'd just like to summarize what I've experienced, if that's okay. I've had imagery come into my thoughts today from Belinda's wisdom and clarity in her explanation of resilience. I have seen need to embrace women, embrace people who are underprivileged, to help them, to lift them, to show them that we can make a difference all together, and to give our love, our wisdom, our energy, and help those who maybe right now can't help themselves. Belinda's story reminds us that resilience doesn't arrive in triumphant moments. It arrives in the quiet ones, the late night fears, the mornings when you rise, even though the pieces don't fit back together. Yet, the days you rebuild parts of yourself no one will ever notice. Belinda's life shows us that resilience isn't loud and it isn't linear, and it's not about bouncing anywhere. It's about slowly, bravely becoming someone that you can trust, and then you can trust what is going on around you. The resilient roar gives us language for where we stand, below the line, above the line, or somewhere suspended in between. And that is a day-to-day proposition, moment to moment even. Belinda's VERB model gives us a map of how to move through values, expectations, resilience, abilities, and boundaries, not as ideals, but as lived, imperfect human practices. And perhaps Belinda's greatest offering is the reminder that legacy isn't a future concept. It's about today. It's the choices that you make today, the boundaries that you honour, the resilience that you practice, and the way you rise from every little disturbance, knockback, little trip in the road, the way you rise from harm and you choose to love yourself for today and tomorrow. Belinda's book, Resilience is a Verb, is available now. And if you can share that with the people around you, you might notice that you see someone in your community that maybe could benefit from a copy of Belinda's book. Be generous with sharing the ideas, the concepts. This isn't for you to keep as a secret. This is for you to share with everybody around you, because it is together that we will make community a better place. Thank you, Belinda, for being with us today. And I am blessed that we have had technical difficulties and yet we've overcome them, and we've had a deeper, broader conversation today than we planned.
Thank you, Leigh-Anne. It's been wonderful to be able to talk with you about resilience and about the different frameworks that I've created, but I hope that many, many, many people will be able to benefit from. It's a joy to be your friend. It's a joy to be part of your life. And I hope whoever's listening to this is happy and willing to share the Resilience as a Verb framework, with whoever wants to listen. It is available in an ebook and also a hard copy. You choose whatever you think you want to do. And if not at all, then that's fine too. It is worth a good read. So I will leave that with you. Thank you, Leigh-Anne. Thank you for inviting me to be on your podcast.
Thank you.
This has been Suddenly Different. I'm Leigh-Anne Charland, and I'm so grateful you shared your time with me. If you felt a spark, a tear, or a moment of recognition, I hope you'll pass that gift along by sharing this show. Take a deep breath, trust your path, and I'll meet you back here soon.